So we're really excited to join you all today here, and I guess it's amazing to know that there's so many people that would like to hear about our school context and our little kitchen garden. So we're joining you on Matu country in Wiluna, and just quickly I'd like to acknowledge the elders past, present and emerging. Working in this context, you get to work alongside a lot of elders, so we're just really grateful for all their contributions to the school and to education and the garden as well.
So we might take you for a little bit of a walk around the garden now. I'll just try and flip the camera around.
I'll try and do with the IT here. So we'll just let you know first, we thought we'd take you for a quick tour of our garden space. Afterwards, we can talk about the things that we've planned to implement, like the shed and shade house. And then afterwards, we can show you a new garden space that's also been recently developed that links to our garden as well, with seed collecting and things like that. So we've got a simple garden space here. Yep.
So this is our working garden space at the moment. So we only have a few beds, as you might be able to see over in the back right over there. This dirt patch used to have all those garden beds, but unfortunately when our solar panels were put in, the retic was cut off to that. So we only have retic to this area at the moment. We're sort of in a bit of a transition phase. The kids have just mulched the garden this morning, and we put a little bit of fertilizer on it, and we always come out here and water the garden with the kids. Normally we do it sort of once or twice a week, usually definitely once a week, and then just depending how busy our schedule is, we might do it a second time.
Yep. So we'll show you what we've got growing at the moment. So it is, I guess, winter here, but it feels a lot more like spring. We don't really have much of a winter in Wiluna because we're so far north.
So we have some kale, we have some broccoli. There's a little cauliflower hiding just down here.
This was just a bunch of different brassicas that the students sowed last term. So they're coming to maturity now.
Over in this bed here, we had a beautiful bunch of sunflowers here, which we both collected the seeds from, and the kids have also done some drawings of them as well in the classroom, which is really nice. Over here we have more greens, lettuces. So the kids sometimes take bunches of lettuce home to their family, or sometimes we get to use it up in the kitchen, just depending what's going on. We have one lonely little tomato plant here. We actually just pulled out heaps of tomatoes from one of our beds over there and made a massive pot of tomato soup, which we shared with the school. Here, most of you probably don't know what this is, but this is a native bush food in Wiluna. It's called a gurgler up here, or if you type it up on Google, you'll also be able to find it as a bush banana. Here, sorry, our school bell just went. Over here we have some of our capsicums, which we've also picked, and we made like a frittata with the kids, which they absolutely loved. More capsicums here, sunflowers drying out. Bed of tomatoes, which used to be here, which we're going to plant some peas, I think, in here.
Yep. Beans, I think.
Beans. Over here, if you look closely, we have some giant radishes which have been growing, which we'll be going to pull out very soon. And then another big garden of green.
Yep, we got some broad beans.
Oh, broad beans too.
But they haven't set any fruit yet. I'm not sure if there's enough pollinators here, and some spinach and silver beet.
Oh. So Scott's now just gonna explain what's going on over in our little dirt patch over here.
Yep.
Rebecca, we've just got a question from Andrea. How many students are in the school and how many are in the kitchen garden program?
So we have about 50 kids that come to school here, and we're doing the kitchen garden program with the KP1, well, kindy up to year 5, and then some of the older kids do other work around the school with the gardener. If that answers your question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a really rough, really harsh environment here in Wiluna. It's very hot in summer and even in winter, and it's very windy as well. So it's actually quite difficult to grow vegetables if it's not like winter. So we've decided to buy a shade house. We've got a really large structure, a 6 by 12 meter shade house that's going to go in over here. And that'll just make it a lot easier to grow vegetables throughout, I guess, the warmer months and just take that buffer off the heat. So we're really excited for that. It's just arrived recently and we're just waiting for council approval, and then we can actually start erecting the structure. It's going to be like a large sort of hoop house structure made out of galvanized steel, similar to what you make fences and things like that out of. So that's going to go here and take up much of this space here. The gum tree may have to go. We're not sure yet. We're going to do some research because I'm a bit worried about the eucalyptus just sucking all the nutrients out, and we can plant lots more gum trees elsewhere, but we'll see how we go with that. And all those garden beds down the end there that we've stacked up, they're going to be lined up inside the shade house. So it'll be mostly for vegetables, but we also want to have a propagation space there as well. And that'll be to grow things for the veggie garden, as well as native plants and bush foods that we've been collecting seeds for, which we can tell you about next. And one last thing is we have also ordered a shed from Stratco, and that's going to go just over here. That's going to be about 6 by 4 meters, and that's where we can store all of our tools and wheelbarrows and all those sort of things. Because at the moment, there's a big sea container that's on the opposite side of the school, so you need to walk about 200 meters just to access the things. And further to that, we don't have any electricity here, and we don't even have a tap close by. So although it's a great garden space, we still need to establish those like basic utilities, and that's all going to be in part of the plan that we're working on at the moment. So hopefully in the future, we can show you the progress of the garden. Now, we'd like to show you an exciting project that we've been doing in collaboration with local community and the Aboriginal Rangers here. So we've got funding to establish a propagation space and to get a propagation expert up here to work alongside our Wiluna Māori Rangers. And the Wiluna Māori Rangers go out and work on country and managing their Indigenous protected area. And they've also been collecting a lot of seeds for us, bush foods and other things. So I guess we can show you some of those now and show you our little collection that we've made and how we're going to hopefully propagate some of them in the future with some expert knowledge that we're going to get.
Yep.
This is a native hibiscus. And this is our awesome kindy, pre-primary year 1 and year 2 space. So previously this was just a grass patch with a sandpit and all these lovely gum trees. So they're red river gums, Eucalyptus camaldulensis. And recently we had a new nature play upgrade, which included a lot of these plants as well.
So yeah, as Scott said, this space used to be pretty much nothing. But now we have all these native plants in here, some of them which are actually bush foods or that the locals make into medicine. Sometimes they boil it in water like a tea, or other times they'll make it into a balm that you can rub on your body. So we have lots of different types of Eremophilus, trying to get a picture. And our KP1 kids have been looking after them at the moment. So we installed a little water pump here and a little creek which flows down. So yeah, we've been learning about looking after the water and also helping the plants grow as well. So the kids have had to be really careful in this space because, as you can see, they're quite small, but we've only had a few casualties. Yeah, so Scott and myself have worked out here for just under 2 years.
Sorry.
Okay.
Lastly, we'd just like to show you our seed collection, which is growing really quickly. So like I said, we've got a partnership with our local ranger group, and they often go out on country and collect seeds or specimens for us. So firstly, the most exciting one I'll show you is our bush bananas. This is that plant that we had in the vegetable garden.
So with the bush bananas, these are a little bit too big to eat raw. When they're about that size, you can eat them raw. Whereas with these ones here, they say to cook it in the hot sand. So hot sand is where the coals have been after the fire, and it only takes about 3 minutes or so, and they taste really nice. They sort of have a nearly nutty, slightly nutty, creamy flavour.
Yes.
And yeah, I think it would taste really yummy in stir fry as well.
Yeah, and when they're young, they almost have a sort of mushroom sort of taste.
Yeah.
They're really tasty. So these ones, yeah, because they're a bit old now, we're just letting them dry out. And once they dry out, they'll expand and crack, and then the seeds inside, they will sort of blow away in the wind. And none of these have started to crack yet, but they will soon. And they're quite similar to another bush food called a watcha, which is a bush bean, and they have this very similar sort of seed. You can see it here. It's really similar to a globe artichoke, where it has like a little parachute and then a little seed on the end. And if you chuck that off in the wind, it can just float off on its way. It's sort of like a dandelion. So that one's the bush bean. It has a real similar sort of seed to the bush banana. I think they might be related. I'm not sure. In Wiluna, we have a lot of sandalwood. There's a sandalwood foundation here that supports the school with a lot of our projects as well. So here's some sandalwood and quandong, or walgu, we call them, seeds. So the horticulture expert that's going to be coming up here next year to do our workshop, he is a pro at propagating quandongs, and now he's doing sandalwood as well from seed. So we can't wait to trial some of them and get him to help us set up a propagation system.
So with the quandongs as well, I don't know how many of you have tried it before, but you can eat it raw, or you can turn it into like a jam, which actually surprisingly nearly tastes like apricot. They're quite tart, but super yummy.
Super delicious. And also, if you didn't know, the quandong, I think the sandalwood is the same. It's the hemiparasitic tree, so it can grow on its own, but it does benefit from attaching to the roots of like a casuarina or an acacia, which we have lots around here. So that's something we'll have to think about when we plant them out. This one's really exciting. This is a kulyu seed. This is a bush potato seed. So this is in the same family as a sweet potato. It's an Ipomoea. This one is an Ipomoea calabra. There's another one, custard, as well, that grows out here. And we've collected all these seeds on a recent trip out bush with some elders, and that was an amazing trip, and they showed us how to actually collect them. The seed as well as the actual fruit or the tubers.
Yeah, so same with the bush potato, you can eat it raw. It nearly tastes a bit like chestnutty, but a little bit more starchy. Or you can also cook that too. You can get some that are huge, like the size of a
like a small
basketball.
They grow much larger than a sweet potato, and they're super delicious. This one is a black gidgee. So I think on the East Coast they have gidgee as well. It's a really, really hard timber. It's good for firewood, and we've got lots of them growing here at the school. So that would be a great tree to use as a host for our quandongs and sandalwood once they get bigger. We've got some aromophilus as well. There's just some seeds in there that came from one of the trips, as well as some native lemongrass. I don't know much about this, but this was just given to us from Kutchera, which is a really important spot out in country.
We've also been told by some of our locals to put lemongrass in our nature play space here, as it deters snakes. So once we get that up and propagating, hopefully we can pop some around the nature play area.
And in this bag here, it says this is bush banana seeds, and you can see how they have those little parachutes. I think the seeds have fallen to the bottom, but the parachutes are real similar to that of the bush bean. So the seeds have fallen down to the bottom there. And last is just a few more that we've collected ourselves. This one is an unknown one. We're going to try and find out what it is. It's a little round seed. I had a look at them myself. They're quite beautiful. If anyone knows much about native seed, then yeah, feel free to let us know. But it's quite a small seed or nut that's only about maybe 6 to 8 millimeters across and round. And that was collected out in country by some of the rangers. Okay, a couple more here. We've got a few more like shrubs as well. So I've got a seed here. It's a desert raisin. This one's quite a common bush food. Like you can buy, I think, dried out, or I know you can make it into a paste as well. So that's like, it's like a tomato, I guess, bush tomato or desert raisin, you can call it. You can make chutneys and things out of that. That's a pretty popular one.
Yeah, so it has quite a strong tomatoey flavour actually, and yeah, people suggest to put it in stews or bologneses, or you can just eat them fresh as well.
We haven't collected any of these miliary river red gum tree seeds because they just pop up everywhere. So we're just luckily enough that we can just scoop them out of the ground and pot them up, and then they keep growing. So we've got about 10 of them at our house there looking after them, then we can plant at school. But there's another eucalyptus here. It's a Eucalyptus King's Millii, and I collected this one just close by the town here at the health centre. And I collected it when the seed pod was open, and then it was closed. Sorry, I collected the seed pod when it was closed, and then afterwards I got all these little seeds out of that one. So we're going to propagate some of them too. You can see in there that eucalyptus seeds are so very tiny. And there's just a couple more here as well that I'll show you. This one is from an acacia. It's called a Bogota tree. And that one also produces like an edible bean, being an acacia that you can eat when it's quite young and tender. When it gets older, it's a bit too woody. This was that native hibiscus that we just showed you on the way over here. That's the one, I think it's on National Sorry Day. That's the emblem, that purple flower that's used for that day. And lastly, this is a little seed of a hakea. It's called a Hakea francisciana, or a emu tree, or people also call it a bottle brush hakea because the flowers do look like a bit like a bottle brush, but they're quite pink. And these ones are really cool. The seeds, when you let go of them, they're like a little helicopter blade, and they just spin around and drift off into the distance. So yeah, that's our seed collection as it is at the moment, and we're just slowly collecting more and more and more. And we're hoping that the school can become a bit of a database to collect all these specimens, and yeah, plant them around the school to keep growing and make the school more beautiful.
Did you know a lot about bush foods before you came to Wiluna, both of you? Because it's pretty incredible the amount of scientific terms that you're using around the bush foods. I mean, I know some of those names, but it's just like your depth of knowledge. Obviously, you really love what you're doing, but yeah, be interested to know like your background.
Yeah, so we're both teachers, of course, but we're just really passionate gardeners. We've never really been, or I myself never really been into native plants, in a great deal. I've always appreciated native gardens, but coming up to Wiluna, it's sort of just, seeing how the locals live and how they interact with the country and the bush. It really opened our eyes to all these different plants and the seasonality of that as well. So we're just really getting really nerdy, I guess, about discovering all the different plants and how they grow, and everything that goes along with that. So it's really exciting. And like us, there's a lot of other people around that are really interested in these things. So I think one of the ones I always go on Facebook is like a WA Wildflower Society. So if you go out bush and you see a flower, you're not sure what it is, you chuck it on there, and within minutes, someone will tell you exactly what that flower is, because there's people that just really love all this stuff. So I think it's probably going to be similar with the bush foods as well when we get a little bit more going.
Yeah, very impressive. There is a question, Scott and Rebecca, from Kylie. She says, do you have a bank of recipes that you use in cooking sessions to kind of celebrate bush foods at all?
Not yet.
Next step.
That's the next step. So like wattle seeds here are super duper common. They're like traditionally they used to like grind to make a paste and make like sort of bread or like things like that. Yeah, like a little damper.
It was damper before I had the flour.
Yeah, so that's one thing we could definitely explore, like using wattle seed, because there's a lot of different acacias here that you can collect the seeds.
I just saw that comment half pop up, and I ran and grabbed this little samples. So this is some saltbush, which we have as a couple hedges around the school. And yeah, once again, this can be put into dishes, into pastas, stir fries, pretty much anything, I think, in terms of savouring, maybe sweet too if you're getting creative.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we don't always have like bush foods like readily available, but once we do have it, the kids mostly enjoy eating it raw. So I guess it's something to work on as well.
Yeah, I think
with
that's
the
going to happen in
kids.
time. At the moment, our cooking is mostly just really simple things, like Rebecca said about that frittata. You know, we had a lot of capsicums and tomatoes, so we just made a quick frittata, or we've just made soup as well. Like we had a big crop of corn, so we just cut all that up and made a massive pot of soup for the kids, and same with the tomatoes as well when we had a big glut of tomatoes.
Yeah, sounds delicious. And we do have a saltbush soda bread recipe, which I know quite a few of you know about on the shared table. So that's
Cool.
a yummy one
Oh.
too. Yeah,
We have to put it in some damper.
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Kylie Smith has just commented and said she can see your own recipe book coming up. Great knowledge.